9:30, and I don't know how many people we have online. We have 13 people online, not counting myself. So 15 people are still falling in. And we got 3 people live here. I'm so nice to see you guys. There is coffee next door. If you want some coffee, you can go get the coffee. I'll get the class started in a couple minutes, so give you guys a chance to get the coffee. I'm very excited because, believe me, this is the first time since COVID in 2000, since March, that I'm actually here in person at the association office conducting the class. We've been conducting Zoom-only classes, and with the government's living with COVID policy, we're now opening up for live and Zoom hybrid classes. And my name is Brian Chen. I'm a certified zipForm instructor, and I'm also Western Gable Valley Association Realtors 2022 president. This is the second time I am president for this association. The first time was year 2000, the year of the new millennia and Golden Dragon. That was the Golden Dragon year. Anyway, so it is now 9:32. We have 18 people minus me and minus phone, so it's 16 people online, 3 people, that's 19 people. Let me get the class started. You guys can see on the screen, my screen. This is my computer, my screen. I'm sharing my screen with all of you. And I will start by doing the how to log in. Okay, how to log in. There are several methods that you can log in. You can go to www.car.org and sign in here, or you can log in through the local association. Through the local association website, there is up here on the upper right-hand corner, MLS login or zipForm login. You can do it either way. The advantage of coming to the Western Gable Valley Association website, or if you are a member of other associations, you go to your association's website, you get to see all the information and news that is available on in your local association. For example, your education class schedule, it will be all listed here. If you need to use any kind of forms, application forms or MLS change forms, or any forms that you need to fill out with the association, it is all available at the wsgvar.com website, your local association, Western Gable's website. So if you are a member of other associations, go to your local association's website. You can get local association information, as well as either click on the MLS login to log into your MLS, or click on the zipForm login. It will take you to the CAR login page, okay? And then you sign in. You sign in. You can sign in through here, and let me just log in. Once you log in, you see the validating the membership. The system, during this time, the system is updating and double check your credentials to make sure that you are an active member in the association with the zipForm access authorization. Then you click on continue. When you click on continue, you'll see the screen also have a circle that's turning round and around. It is updating, synchronizing between your computer zipForm software and the online system. So if you are working with your desktop software, zipForm desktop version, any new changes between the desktop version and the online version during that circle time is synchronizing. But I have not used the zipForm software for years. So there was not much to update or synchronize. So it only took a couple of seconds until it turns me to here. Okay, when you're at this location, okay, your sign-in page, most of you probably have the dashboard as your initial sign-in page. I have set my sign-in page directly to my transactions because I usually will go directly into a transaction to write offers or create a new offer. I have to create a new transaction. But I want to call your attention to the picture icon on the upper right-hand corner. That is your user profile, okay? If you click on that, or either click on me, okay? Either the word me or the photo, you can update your profile settings. Why is this important? When you the very first time you joined the association, they activate your zipForm service. Your brokerage information is automatically added to the zipForm, okay? But if you change your company, anytime you change your company, even though you come to the local association and change the office, your zipForm profile is not changed. So you need, as a user, you need to come here and click on the user profile and then go to your offices and then change your company information here. If you don't change your company information here, what will happen is your offer in the future, you will fill in your new company's information. But as you know, on your zipForm, on the first page of each form, on the bottom, there is a little square, rectangular square that has your name and company information. It will still show your old office information. So anytime you change your office, you need to come here and make changes. There is also another reason why I point this information out to you is because sometimes we may be changing our company on a Friday afternoon, right? We change to a new company and we haven't had a chance to come into the association office and change our office information. And then on Friday night, we're gonna write a new offer. We already changed our license association at DRE Friday afternoon to the new company. So you need to come, at that time, you need to come in here and change your company information to the new company. That way, when you write offers on Friday night, even though you haven't changed the information with the association's office, at least your information and the office information will match with your license. And you are writing offers under the new company's name on the bottom, okay? This is something very important because I have seen, even with my own agents, I have seen them write offers on the page 1 of the RPA. They wrote the correct new company information, but on the bottom, all of their forms on the bottom, it still shows their old company information. And that may create some problem with your contract. There are some escrow companies that will require you to go back to your old company to write a release before they will process and accept your new offer as with under the new company's name. So that may create some problems, especially if your old broker is one of those people who will not sign the release and you're stuck, and only because you didn't come here and make the change. So anytime you make the change, you need to click on the word save, okay, to save your new company information. And just always remember to do that. Okay, it's very easy. Click on your photo or me and click on profiles and settings. Profiles and settings is also where you do your products, okay? Your settings. Your settings for your e-signature. We have two different e-signatures that is supported by zipForm. One is the digital ink. Digital ink. We call that e-sign or e-signature, okay? You can set that as your default. But I also noticed a lot of the agent uses DocuSign. You open up an account, you pay an annual fee, and you have DocuSign account. So if you want to use DocuSign, you click here to change it to DocuSign, okay? But I am cheap. I do free e-sign, so I don't subscribe. So I always set it at digital ink 2.0. It is a free e-signature system that comes with your zipForm. DocuSign, you have to pay. You have to pay an annual subscription fee to use the DocuSign. It is a third-party e-signature system. DocuSign, I don't know. I think it's something around $200 a year or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't subscribe to it, and I don't use it. Okay, so you can, when you do the settings, this is where you set up which e-signature you want zipForm to use. Okay, let me go through how a new person wanting to write a new offer. I forgot to do one thing. You guys can see this. So I go to zipForm. I go to matrix system and log in, and I need to find a particular property. Just quickly find a property. Yeah, just find a property. Active property. In Arcadia. It's 108, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 10, good. Okay, it's only 10, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. See, our inventory is very low. Okay, then let me just pick one. Pick one. Okay, this one, 790. Okay, 5612 FARNA, and the listing number is AR 22080148. And I need to find out, when you want to write an offer, you always want to click on the parcel number. Why? You need to find out the owner's name, because if you write an offer and you leave the seller's name blank, it is not a proper contract. A proper contract, you must have a buyer's name and the seller's name. So I have seen it with my own agent. Their offer comes with the buyer's name on the first page, and then on the very end, where the seller's signature is blank, there is no name. When you have a no name, that is not a contract. You did not write a contract to somebody. So you got to come here and take a look at the owner's name. And the owner's name, you see, there are two ways to list the owner's name. The owner's name listed here is the last name first. So you know the owner's last name is Lee, okay? And first name is YICK, middle initial is C. The mailing address is Yixi Lee. What does that mean? This is an owner-occupied property. If you have an owner's mailing, okay, your property address and the tax billing address is different from this property, then you know this is a rental property because the owner doesn't live there. So this is one way for you to know whether or not this is an owner-occupied or non-owner-occupied. And besides, you're supposed to give a property profile copy to your client anyway. So might as well do it at this time. So now I have the owner's last name and the first name. And this is only one owner because only one name appears. If it's more than one owner, their name will appear, okay? So I know the property address, and I have verified the address, and I have verified the owner's name. Now I'm ready to write an offer, right? Most people that they don't know how to use a template, when they write offer, you gotta create a new, let me go back to the zip file. Okay, then when you want to create a new transaction, you create it from a blank transaction, okay? Then you got to do this, you got to do a new purchase, and then you create, I call this bad example. Okay, and residential, and then I just go ahead and save. Then I come here and I have a new blank transaction, and I go to documents, and then I have to say, okay, I'm going to write an offer. What kind of form do I need to use? I need to use the purchase agreement. And then I have to think what other forms I need to use. I may need to use an addendum, and I may need to use a buyer counteroffer, okay? Buyer counteroffer. And then then I go to the purchase agreement, and then start filling in all the information on the purchase agreement from blank. Everything, I have to enter it in. I'm here to show you how to use templates. How to use templates to help you speed up the process. Let me go back to my transactions. And bad example, I'm gonna forget about this. I'm gonna delete this transaction. And by the way, this is how you can delete some of the transactions you have written in the past that didn't go through and just clutter up the space. You can delete those, select those, and delete. Now, you see on this particular bar line, you have the transactions in green. It shows you are currently in the transaction page. If you go to templates, okay, I have a lot of templates already set up. I want you to forget all about that, because if you never use the template, here is how you use a template. Template is almost like a die cast. Everything that you already filled in before, it will stay there. But do not use your old transaction as your template, because when you use an old transaction, the form you're using is the old form. When you save a transaction in templates, it will always use the latest, newest zipForm, because zipForm updates twice a year. Once in about April, May time. Second time is about December. Every year between May and December, it updates twice. So some of the forms may have been updated. So if you use, if in May you use a transaction that you closed in March, use that as a base, and then you go in there, simply change the information in that transaction, you're using the old form. Okay, so you need to learn how to use templates. And here is how you set up a brand new template. This is how you would set up a brand new template. You go to the templates page, you go to new, and what kind of templates you're creating. I'm creating a purchase template. Okay, you can call that, I'll call that sample, okay, May 23. You don't have to use my name. This is only name for me, so I know. Most of you may just say, skip the sample. You just say residential, okay, purchase, okay. You may even say how many days, 30 days purchase or 45 days or whatever. You can create one, and then it's residential, okay. And then You keep in mind, here is my template, okay? Keep this in mind. But I'm just gonna go to residential and I save. When I save a new sample, see this here is all blank. I haven't added any forms. For me, I want to start adding forms in here. So I add this form, I add the addendum, problem, because most likely we'll do addendum. We may have buyer counteroffer, so go down to buyer counteroffer, scroll down to buyer counteroffer. Okay, what other forms will you use during the transaction where you represent the buyer? How about RR, right? You can scroll down to look at, or you can just simply type RR and it will skip right to their request for repair. And then most likely you will also do CR, right? Contingency removal. You may do two of them, right? One to remove buyer investigation, the other one is to remove all, including loan and everything. Okay, sometimes you may even use three. Why? Because if the home have solar, I'm sure the solar contingency is not ready within 17 days. Usually solar processing takes 2 to 3 weeks. That is a very common delay in escrow. So if you are dealing with a house with a solar system, expect delays. It will not close in 10 days. I know that in today's market, a lot of time we say, we close in 10 days, we remove all contingency in 5 days. It's not gonna happen with solar. They're too slow. Also, homes with HOA, homeowner association, also cause delays because the seller have to pay the association. Some may be $350, some may be $600 to get the association to produce the required documents to send to escrow. And even after they send the documents to the escrow, the lender will have a lender questionnaire. They call that HOA certification letter. The lender have to send to the HOA, and the HOA management or the HOA president have to answer that questionnaire. It's a questionnaire about minimum 15 questions, and they have to certify. Okay, so that may cause delay. Most of the time, the HOA produce the documents, and then when the lender send this lender certification, it took the HOA more time because nobody wants to sign, I certify this to be true and correct. Nobody wants to take the responsibilities. But if you have a large HOA, the HOA management company have the managers who will certify the information. And those information are vital to getting a loan because it has Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines. Not every association is qualified to get a Fannie Freddie loan. Some association is not qualified. So you have to be careful with that. So expect delays when you are dealing with a property with solar, and expect delays if it involves HOA. Okay, and the same delay goes to the listing agent. You have to know that they will cause you delays. I have transactions where the buyer and the seller agreed that buyer will remove all contingency within 10 days, but we're still waiting on the solar and HOA because it was a home built in 2021. It has solar and it has HOA. So even though the buyer is still waiting for the HOA document, the listing agent is demanding the buyer remove all contingencies. I can only advise my buyer to remove all contingencies except HOA and solar, and the listing agent will not accept that. That is the listing agent's own ignorance. And listing agent may have a cash buyer says, I can remove all contingency, and the listing agent even try to cancel. Let me tell you, all listing agents out there, when you, the seller, has not supplied the buyer with all the required documentation like HOA documentation or solar processing, you cannot cancel. It is sellers are actually in breach of contract, not providing those information to the buyer. So there will be escrow delays and seller cannot cancel because the cost of delay is from the seller side. It's not from the buyer side. Okay, so you just got to remember that. So, okay, so we're here selecting more forms, right? We have contingency removal forms. What other forms do we use? Okay, we may use final walkthrough, right? We all know we will require final walkthrough. So add that forms into the forms. So you have that final walkthrough. What other stuff do you need? Oh, in my company, we require SS square footage and lot size because that's my company's requirement. Okay, and what else? How about fire hardening and defensible space? That's a new form that's been in effect since last year. And this is something that required by law. Yes? You can use cover sheet. You can use cover sheet, but cover sheet has been obsolete. You can actually enter everybody's information in the transaction. I'll show you that. But you don't do the cover sheet here. You don't do it in templates. Okay, once you finish selecting all the forms that your company requires to complete a sales transaction, of course, my company requires many other forms, such as water heater, smoke detector, and carbon monoxide, and all that. And I add all that into my purchase template. Okay, now this is only pre-selecting the forms. That's half of the job. The most important part about template, to use template to save you time, is this. You use a form and you pre-type in everything that you always use. For example, if I am doing the buyer, I'm writing the offer, I will use my company name, okay, always, and company license number. And I represent the buyer. So that would be the selection. And then I always do what? My personal, Brian Chen, and my, okay, and my license number, my personal license, okay? These information are always repeated in every transaction. The idea is you pre-type those information in so you don't have to type it when you write up an offer. So the seller, you know the listing agent is always representing the seller, but you don't know who they are yet. So you leave it blank. You leave this information blank. And then you start writing everything usually. If I'm doing this like a 30 days, so close of escrow, okay, 30 days, okay, and the loans, I have up to 1% as the loan origination, and not to exceed, I can put down 5.25, okay. That means every time I use, my buyer is protected not to exceed 5.25. It defaults into conventional loan, okay? And that's the first mortgage. And what else? Verification, they're all attached. The default language has changed from old purchase agreement. Okay, so I'm sure you guys are all familiar with these forms. And what other stuff? The normal, usual stuff that you usually write in, okay? And this, I always ask for stoves, okay? And I usually don't ask for any other appliances unless my buyer wants to. So, but I always ask for stove to be remaining. And you will always want, well, maybe termite report, okay? And seller pays for that. This is only for the report, not section 1, okay? And this is physical inspection, right? Termite is the pest inspection. Yes, yes. Okay, and this is only for the report. That doesn't mean the seller, if you don't just put this in, that doesn't mean the seller agreed to do section 1. Okay, however, if you type in here, section 1, termite, okay, clearance, and type in seller pays, that means you're asking the seller to do section 1, okay? But right now, I want to leave it blank because not always. Well, it depends. So it's on you. Whether you want to do it as every offer, that's up to you. Just remember, everything you type in this templates, every time in the future, when you use this templates on your current new offer transaction, everything you typed in is already there, okay? So, but Brian Chen is tough, guys. I always ask for the seller to pay. So section 1, termite, okay, clearance. The report will show what kind of treatment required. But the report doesn't mean the seller agreed to do the termite. You still have to negotiate that. And the home warranty, seller pays for home warranty not to exceed $600. Okay, and home warranty plan, I always put on buyer's choice. Okay, escrow fees. Where is the escrow fees? Do we agree on escrow fees? Escrow and title. Not here to answer that kind of question. Natural hazard, seller pay. I always want the seller paid. And I click on the environmental. That just means $10 extra for the seller. Okay. Escrow fees. Okay. I click here, each to pay their own. Okay. Owner's title policy, sellers pay. Buyer's lender is always buyer. You see that? You don't even have a choice. So sometimes I get the buyer says, we said title fee paid by the seller, so they refuse to pay. Sorry, if you use a lender, it is your fee to pay. County transfer tax, seller to pay that. Okay. CD transfer tax, seller. Okay. And then I always type in, if any. Because not every CD has a CD transfer tax. And the HOA transfer fee, I always ask the seller to pay. That's just me, the way I write out, okay? Private transfer fees, we leave that blank because that doesn't happen too often, okay? See here, it says seller, default to seller, so leave it blank. It is in the buyer's favor. Just leave it blank, okay? Private transfer fee. It doesn't happen. The other terms is case dependent. If you're representing the buyer and one of the buyer is a real estate licensee, you have to state that, but you don't put it in the template because in templates, you assume this is a normal transaction, okay? Other than that, I'm all done. This is the template. And let me go check my disclosures. The agency disclosure, when I'm doing the purchase, I'm always doing it with the buyer. I leave the buyer's name blank, but I always check the buyer. And then it is my disclosure. So everything is pretty much done with my template. You see that? Okay. So my template now has been completed. This is my sample for today, 523 sample. Now, that's how you use template. You create a transaction in the templates. Keep this in mind. Now let me show you another way to create a quick condo, right? HOA, property with HOA. Because this is a residential, right? I want to create a brand new transaction template called condominium. It works for condominium or any property with HOA. And you see, I already created a residential purchase, right? So this is my 523 sample condo template. Okay, now you see this my templates. I already created one template called what? Residential purchase. And everything in there still apply. So this is what I do. 523 residential purchase. I click on this particular template to see here. It shows the name and I say save. When I say save, notice I'm creating the condo templates, brand new one, and yet all the forms for residential is already here. And all the previously inputted information is all there. I only need to change what? I only need to change for HOA information. Oops. Made a mistake. I checked the HOA. Okay, so this is a condo, so my HOA always wants seller to pay. Okay, so this is my condo. That's the only difference. Now, let me go back to my residential. Because when I created residential, I did click the condo, and it doesn't apply always. So yes, I uncheck the HOA stuff. Okay, and I save it. Okay. Now, the templates I'm going to be using for this class has been created. I created a sample residential and sample condo. Okay, but if you look in my repertoire of templates, I also have sales checklist. You see that? Sales checklist. You know what a checklist is? A checklist is a reminder of tasks that will be done, that need to be completed in your transaction. Okay, I just remember that checklist is almost like a schedule of work to be done. And it is something that you can create in a transaction. You can also create a checklist for the transaction. Let me show you what a checklist transaction looks like. It says documents. I go to checklist. You see, I have a checklist for 3 days after acceptance. Do you see that? It says buyer deposit is due. I have call to set inspection appointment 1 day after acceptance. Why? You want to schedule the inspection ASAP. Inspections and selling agent AVIDs 4 days after exception. I want to get those things done ASAP. So this is my checklist. I create this. Let me show you how to create a checklist. This is a checklist that's already created. Okay, let me create a new template. Yes, actually, you don't have to click save. Anything you enter and when you exit, it automatically save for you. The computer is now doing all the automatic saving. Okay, but you can, whenever you make a change, you want to exit. For example, I'm here. Okay, if I'm in a particular form, if I made any changes, okay, if I made any changes, let me just type something, okay, and then I want to exit, okay, It's save button right now is not there for me. Okay, I made the change here. I say, I type something. Doesn't make sense, right? You see, if I want to save this, I can click here, save, but I don't want to save it. So, but you don't have to, because even if you type something different, okay, watch. On auto save. I don't have to click save. I click on back. Watch. When I go back to the same form, see that? It's already saved for me. You see it? I did not have to click save, but it's already saved. The computer now, this program is so smart, it automatically save any changes you made. Okay, so you don't have to click save to save. Okay, now let me show you how to create a sample checklist. Pay attention to this. You click on, still in the templates, you click new, okay? And then you click on this sample checklist for RES purchase, for regular purchase, residential, okay? Then you create templates. You create a template. You are in a document mode. You want to change to checklist mode. When you're in a checklist mode, you can then you can add new checklist, okay? So you add new checklist purchase, 30-day purchase. Okay, this is your new checklist in here. Then you can create a new task. You are in a 30-day purchase checklist. You can create a new task. So let's do the new task. Buyer, deposit, due, escrow, right? And you know over here, due dates, you always use the relative date, because relative date you can say before or after, and then it's not the listing date, it is the offer acceptance date, okay? And this is required. And then you have to come here, say responsible party. You want the people to remind, the system to remind who? I'm the buyer's agent. I always remind myself. Notify responsible party, you have to click yes. Don't forget to do that. If you don't do anything, it's defaulted to no. That means it will not send you any reminder. When I say yes, that's when the system will send me an email says, hey, Brian, your deposit is due, okay? But if you do 3 days, it's too late, because you want to remind your buyer the night before. So you do 2 days. 2 days after acceptance day. System will send you an email. Brian, remind your buyer the buyer's deposit is due. You will receive an email, actual email from the system. Very interesting. You save that. Then the next task. When is the next task? You know that seller's disclosure, right? No, the next task is make inspection appointment, right? The next task, relative, okay, 4 days, 3 or 4 days after acceptance, okay? So if you want to be on top of it, you want to make appointment the very next day, okay? Because when you call the inspection company, they usually cannot just come out that day. They have to schedule. So you schedule, make inspection appointment. Assign to who? To the selling agent. And notify, yes, you got to click that. Remember to click that and then say save. See, the second task is saved. You can do that for every transaction action For example, when is the seller disclosure is due? A lot of times, listing agent is delayed on the delivering of the seller disclosure, right? So you can add a new task, create a new task, and says seller disclosure. Hold on. Seller disclosure is due 7 days after after everything in our transaction is always referred to the acceptance date. So you want to notify. You want to notify the selling agent. Okay. Calendar days include weekend and holidays. Yes. Okay. So required. Yes. Two places you have to click, required or not, and notify or not. Okay. If you don't click on that, it will not send any notifications to anyone. So 7 days. So and what is another frequently used task? What's another frequently used task? Negotiate RR, right? Okay. And it's also relative because when is your contingency expire? 17. You're all using default language. So 17 days. So you do that maybe around the 15 or 14, whenever. You give yourself a couple of days to negotiate, right? These are all reminder to yourself. So it's always that. And why do I, Brian Chen, always remind myself? Not, you can actually remind the listing agent on some of the things it says listing agent, right? But let me tell you, a lot of time you cannot rely on another person to read their email, but you can always make sure I yourself read the email, right? That is why I'm always make myself, if I represent the buyer, the selling agent is the reminder. That way I can remind people. I know that I would not miss that day, okay? Same. So we have, you see how the task all come up, and then the next one naturally is what? Contingency removal, right? CR number 1, right? And then perhaps it is due relative, okay, 17 days after acceptance, required, and remind who? Selling agent. Oh, sorry, click the wrong place. Okay. Then I say yes. Then I remove number 1, CR number 1. The next task is CR R number 2. Okay, and required, and is relative to what? 17 days. Okay, after acceptance. You know, the new purchase contract regarding loan contingency and everything is all 17 days now. But you can change your purchase agreement, okay, to other days. So maybe I want to do it this way, 21 days, right? Then I'll show you what do I have to do. Okay, selling agent, and then yes, okay. And after removing loan, what's the next task? Hopefully, if everything is smooth, is what? Final walkthrough. Final walkthrough is done when? 5 days. Before what date? Closing date. So you enter that. And it's also reminding the selling agent to do the final walkthrough to remind the buyer. Okay. So you do that. Yes, I'm creating a template for the buyer's agent. Buyer's agent is the selling agent. The term selling agent has been used in our industry for many, many years. Only when the last year, when the purchase agreement changed, we changed the name from selling agent to buyer's agent. Buyer's agent is the selling agent. You don't understand. You have a listing agent and you have a selling agent. Selling agent is the one who did the sale. Who did the sale? Buyer. So selling agent is the buyer's agent. Yes, selling agent represents the buyer. You always send it to you. That way you are in control. If you send it to someone else, what if they did not read their email or they ignore it, right? Then the task is not done. You always remind yourself. That way you can call the listing agent, hey, I haven't received the seller's disclosure. It's already 7 days after acceptance. When can you send me the seller's disclosure? It is due today. Okay? That way, that's why. You always want to remind yourself to make sure your transaction is moving according to schedule. No, selling agent is the buyer's agent. Listing agent is a seller's agent. Please do not confuse between selling agent and seller's agent. Seller's agent is the listing agent. Okay? Selling agent is the buyer's agent. Just remember that. Seller's agent is the listing agent. Right. Only listing. Don't get confused. Because if you look at that, create a new task, you see the assign to. Assign to, you assign this notification to buyers or sellers or listing agent or selling agent. You see that? Listing agent represents the seller. Buyer's agent, selling agent represent the buyer. You always want to notify the agent, because if you just send this, when the system sends something to the buyer don't understand this. Who is this? Who is this something called transaction email? They may think it's a spam and delete it. Okay? But it makes sense to you because you are in the industry. You know this is something from your system sending it to you. Buyer don't understand that. Of course, you can have that sent to the buyer if you want. Okay? Very seldom. Escrow usually is not very good. Do not rely on other people to do your work. Okay. Okay, so final walkthrough. In here, you may want to add, for example, this is my sample. This is only a sample checklist, but it's good enough. Okay, and let me back here. Then you will see that today I also created a checklist for sample, right? But let me show you some of my checklist, 30-day sales checklist. Let me show you mine. Go to the checklist. My checklist goes from buyer deposit due, call to inspect, inspection and AVID, the actual inspection date, once I have it, and seller disclosure due. I even remind myself 10 days after acceptance, because everything is due 7 days. I remind myself 10 days after to review everything with the buyer. Then 14 days to discuss with the buyer and send RR and remove contingency. I even have one that says, call lender to check on formal loan approval. It's all reminding me to do so I will not forget. Remove loan contingency. Buyer's final walkthrough, check with escrow, okay, regarding loan doc. To remind escrow, maybe it's time to order loan doc, okay, and blah, blah, blah. I do a much more extensive checklist for myself. Now let's go back to the sample purchase, because remember, our checklist, everything is now 17 days, including loan, right? Including loan, but I may still need 21 days to do loan. So you can change that. And I change it in a template. That way I will not forget. Okay, now my template portion is all done, all complete. Let me now, what time is it now? It is 10:30. Do you guys need a 5-minute break to go to restrooms or anything? Okay, take a 5-minute break and we come back at 10:35. 10:35, I'll show you now we have created a template. Now how to put the template to work for you, okay? So 5-minute break, we'll be back. Let me show you, I already show you how to create checklists, how to create templates, okay? And now I'm going to show you how to use templates to help save you time in purchase, writing an offer. I know that sometimes I watch my agents struggling and they have their clients sitting next to them and they're trying to write offers because they don't know how to use templates and they take a long time to write offers. Okay, but if you know how to use templates, it should take you very, very short time to do offers. So let me go back. And now let's go to transaction. I'm going to create a new transaction, okay? And I'm going to show you a very important function called Mls Connect. That means while you're creating your transaction, you can actually tie in a particular listing and have the listing agent's information, the property address, automatically populated into your transaction. That's called Mls Connect. And let's do it. I'm in the transaction. I'm going to create a new transaction today, and I will call that purchase, and I will call that 523 sample, okay, purchase. Normally, when I do transactions, I use the property address. That's easier. But because I'm doing the sample, I named my transaction this. Usually, when agents ask, what name should I name my transaction? Okay, I would say the easiest way is to use your property address. Okay, this is the residential. Okay, then see this on MLS Connect. I click on MLS Connect. Then I make sure I'm on CRMLS, okay, and my listing number. Remember earlier at the beginning of the class, I searched for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. In our case, this is the listing number, right? I want to include the photo and I want to say find. What this is doing is the system went to the MLS and pulled the information. You see that? The address is 5612 Ferna Avenue. And the listing number, the list price, listing agent ID, and the photo. I verified, yes, this is the property I'm going to write. I say use listing. You see this? I click on use listing. It now adds this image into this transaction. And I want to say use this sample purchase, okay, the one I created. Use this template. And I say save. Now, I just created a brand new transaction, right? Then I come here, I'm at this location. I can enter my party's information. I can enter my party's information. Okay, parties, you see that? You see Angel Lau is already in here. Brian Chen is already in here. More parties, okay. Seller, right? A buyer number 1, okay. Of course, he's very important, right? So row buyer number 1, I'll say sample buyer, sample buyer number 1, okay? And I can enter his home address, all the information, including his email. You see, when I enter his email, remember in the template, in the checklist, if I say notify the buyer, that's where the email is. But if I want to use e-signature, that's where the email comes from. So let me just say, I'll use my own address because I need to show you how to do e-signature. So this has to be a real email address, okay? And you can even add the buyer's photo if you want and everything. You know how we can get people's photo from WeChat, you know, the headshots in WeChat. I add photos to all my contacts because if they're on WeChat, I know. And if they have a cell phone number, I can, you know, enter it here. This is the buyer, right? Same. Now I want to do the seller, right? We only have one seller, remember? And what is the seller's first name? No, Yick, Y-I-C-K. Middle initial is C, and last name is Lee. Okay, I want to say this is sample. That way, it's not going to. Oops. I don't want Mr. Yick to get Mr. Lee to get so excited that he got a overpriced offer from you. Okay, so his email. Well, I'm not going to send anything to him e-signature, but you as agents, when you're in the transaction, you may not know it at this time, but sooner or later you can find out. But anyway, so you got the parties and same. So now I have the seller's name also included, right? Now, let me go to my form, my documents. I want to write an offer now. This is how fast I can write an offer. I go here. It's loading up the forms. You see, today's date, I will say today's date is May 23rd. You see here, the property address is all here. Why? Mls, okay, Connect, input, everything. You see the column anchor, you see all the listing agent's information, it's all here. I don't have to type it, okay? The only thing I have to type is what? How much? The listing price is $799. Maybe I already talked to the listing agent. The listing agent said, I got 4 competing offer already, you know. So I said to my buyer, you know, you're not gonna get it for $799. Maybe I do a $849,000. Okay, and this is not an all cash. So loan amount 849,000. Let's just say 500,000. Okay, 500,000 conventional loan, not to exceed 5.25. Okay. By the way, in today's purchase, if you have a loan, you have to attach the loan approval. Loan approval. Yes, not the pre-qualified. Okay, just so that you know, because that's what your purchase agreement requires. Okay. Loans 21 days, appraisal is 17 days. I know I have all that ready, right? And I already know this. And I want to make sure the seller's name appears in seller's name. You see that? Mr. Lee is already here. You got to make sure the seller's name is there. If you send an offer without the seller's name, that's not a proper offer. Okay, remember contract law, you got to have a person making the offer and the target, the person who is receiving the offer, okay, in order to form a legal binding contract. You got to have 2 parties. So make sure your offer is complete with the names. Okay, and my offer is done. Isn't that quick? If you know how to use templates, the offer is done. The only thing is you now just need to add, for example, I now know my buyer told me he is a real estate licensee, right? So you have to say buyer is a real estate licensee. And if the buyer is my direct relative, either my brother or my parents or my children, I'm directly related to them. I say buyer is related to, buyer's agent. That's all you have to disclose. Okay, that's what this other terms can be used for. Okay, and if the buyer is buying this property as a 1031 exchange, you need to declare that in your offer. This is where you declare, and that's it. What happened to my water?
Oh, probably left over there
Hold
when
on.
you tried to help me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's over there.
Listing agent's information is already in there. When you use the Mls Connect, it imports it right here. Yeah, listing agent have to disclose the same thing. So if the listing agent is related, when the seller counter offer comes, it will say, yes, it has this. It's a required disclosure by law. Okay. So my offer is pretty much done. You see how much time is saved? When you have a properly prepared template, all you have to fill in is how long. If I want to change the escrow, if the listing agent says, oh, 30 days, there is no chance. Okay, maybe 25 days escrow. I can change that. You can type over what's already pre-inserted. But if you filled out your list, your templates properly, all you have to fill in is how much, how many days, and and your loan amount. You're done. Isn't that fast? I can write an offer usually within 5 minutes, and I'm done. And yet other people spend half an hour, 45 minutes. When you're spending half an hour, 45 minutes, your clients sitting there, they get very, very impatient with you. They think you don't know what you're doing. But if you talk, while you're talking to them, you type in the information and say, okay, your offer is done, sign here. Oh, is that all? And then when you show them the 15 pages with all those typing, they think you're God or something because you type all that. Yes. Right? So it is fun to use templates. Now, I gotta show you how I'm going to add templates. Okay? At any time, apply template. You see here? At any time, I can apply templates. Very important. Why? I want to apply another template. What kind of template? Remember my checklist. Remember that checklist? Okay. You can apply if you click apply, okay, you got to go back to your transaction. You got to go back to, oops, what happened? No, what happened to my new transaction? It's automatically saved. Oh, right here. See, the browser has browser memory. So you got to go to another page, come back, it's here. You see this new? Okay, now if I have to go back there and enter some basic information about my transaction. Because remember, I have to say what date, okay, offer acceptance date. Remember my reference was accepted. So if I offer accepted 24th, everything will be sent based on this date. My offer date is on the 23rd, okay? Offer expiration date was 1 to 3 days, okay? And acceptance date. So we pretend this is acceptance. Amounts financed, 500,000. Okay, and initial deposit. Oh, initial deposit. Did I write an initial deposit? I think I forgot. Yeah, 3%. So what is my initial deposit? Let me go to form documents and then go to forms. Aha, I lied. Anyway, so let me go to here. Initial deposit, 849,000. 149,000 times 3% equals 16,971. Is that correct? No, hold on a sec. 849,000 times 3%. 25,470. 25,470. Okay. Now you have to enter in the deposit. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so I wasn't done with my offer that quickly. I forgot to put in the initial deposit. But now you see, I have added checklists. You see here, I have added all these checklist things that I have created with you guys. Okay. Yeah, everything. It will automatically. So on those due dates, you will receive email reminder. That means for the next several days, I will receive an email reminder of this transaction, even though it's not the real transaction. Okay, so that's how you do a purchase with templates and with checklist. And you remember, you gotta go to your records. Okay, you gotta go to your transaction, you gotta go to your dashboard. Okay, you go to your dashboards to enter in the offer date, the acceptance date, and all that. And you may even want to enter in the close of escrow date, closing. What is 25 days? 25 days from May 24th. Use a calendar and count out 25 days. Okay, but for right now, I can just enter something, 25, June 14th. No, June 19th, or something like that. Okay, closing day is June 19th. Since 19th is a Sunday, I put in June 20th. Okay, and the possession day is the same day. Okay, escrow number, I don't have that yet until I open escrow and all that. Okay, so as the transition progress, you need to come here and start entering more and more information. Now, so I've done the template. Now I need to do digital signatures, e-sign. E-sign. Have you guys done e-sign before? E-signature. Okay, let me just do something that's e-signature, okay? You can either do an e-signature with, with the inside the forms, okay? You see the e-sign? You can do it here, but then you have to select the forms. But if you do it while you're in the form, it says, I want to now to send it to myself to sign first as the agent, you do e-sign, okay? And you see the form is already pre-selected. But let me go back. If I'm outside, I haven't selected anything. I click on here, you see, there is no document. I have to select the document. Okay, I have to select the document. So you can do it either way. You can do it either while you're in here or while you're outside. So you do it, I always do it in a form because that way I know I'm sending this form, okay, to the signature. But over here, you said I can add, you see this plus sign? I can add outside document. I can actually, you see this residential is already selected. I can actually add outside document, add external documents. External means what? Outside of zipForm. So I can actually go to my document setting. Okay, and I can say browse for documents. And I can go to, for example, did you know in Pasadena, there is a city no smoking ordinance that you need to notify your buyer when they're buying a condo units or something, okay? Yeah, so there is a city no smoking. So I go to property, my folder, and then I go to Pasadena. There is a Pasadena. If you're living in a apartment, okay, no smoking inside the unit either. Yes. What? You cannot smoke in the common area. You know where you can smoke? Inside your car, while your car is on the street. Pasadena is weird, but this is.
On the street. You can walk down the street smoking.
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
That's what I mean. You have to be outside.
Outside, not inside.
Yeah.
Not even.
Okay, so you can select your document, blank Pasadena agreements, and there is a document called 1.5 Pasadena's non-smoking, Pasadena's no smoking ordinance disclosure. Okay, that, and then you say upload, and that way it is uploaded. Now when you do your document to sign, it is there. Okay, you can. So now you see you have two documents to sign right here. So you can do next. Okay, I want to sign these two documents as an agent. Right now, I just want, because I don't want to send it to the buyer yet. Because as the buyer's agent, you have to sign some disclosure, first. So, selling agent, you see that? And I have to put in my, okay. So I select this one. After I sign, I want the buyer to sign, right? So after I sign, I want the buyer to sign. So number one sign is me. Number two is the buyer. You got to make sure the order. If you have two buyers, maybe the third one, you have to decide between the two buyers who need to sign first before the next buyer can sign. Okay, that way, it's all in sequence. Yeah.
The order is number one, number two. After the number one sign.
After the number one sign, the system then, once number one has completed, the system will send it to number two.
With the number one signature.
With number one completed. Yeah, because otherwise the number one, if the number one guy did not sign, the number two guy will never see that email. Okay, just remember that.
Number two sign.
No, you come back to the agent. I'll show you. Okay. Now we're at the page called setup. Okay. I want you to look at this. My signature, everything is set up already, right? But there is another document. Remember, where the buyer is supposed to sign or supposed to initial, the zipForm already set it up. But I want you to see something else, another document. Remember, I have another document. Okay, this document. Remember, this is a Pasadena ordinance. It's not a zipForm. So you know where people are supposed to sign or people are supposed to initial, it's not here. So what do I need to do? I need to add. So I need to what I need to do, for example, this is signed here. I want that's pretend that I want the buyer to sign right here, okay? Then do this. Agent sign, okay? And let me see, sign option, okay? Signer's name is already in. It's for me, and I can do it for buyer. After I sign, I want the buyer to sign below here. You see that? I changed the people who need to sign up here. You see that? My first one, because I was here, Brian Chen, I can do it here. But I also want the buyer to initial this page. So I want to go here to select the buyer, and I want them to initial right here. This is how you set up. You see that? You select who is a signer here, and then you do what you want them to do, initial or sign. Right? Okay? This is how you set up. Then after you set everything up, you go to next and say send invitation, right? Send invitation. Thank you. Now, let's go to my email. I received the email in the system. Sometimes the system may take up to 5 minutes to send emails. I don't know why that. Okay, let's not wait for the email. Okay, let me go to other part because I have several other things besides the e-signature. I have to show you the Forms Tutor and Forms Advisor. Remember, Forms Tutor. Okay, let me explain what is a Forms Tutor. When you want to show how to fill out a particular form, maybe you never used it before, okay? There is a function called Forms Tutor. Yeah, Forms Tutor, you see this? Forms Tutor, Forms Advisor. A Forms Advisor is CAR zipForm's method of telling you how many forms you will need to complete the transaction. So with Forms Advisor, you have to answer 5 pages of questions about you, about the buyer, about the transaction. And that means what type of transaction. So it is easier for me to show you Forms Tutor, because if you click on Forms Tutor, it takes you to this page. Forms Tutor, you access Forms Tutor. You're actually in the CAR website. It took you from your zipForm to a public CAR website, okay? And then you click on Forms Tutor to use the Forms Tutor. And he asked me to sign in. Okay, now you have different pages of Forms Tutor. So for example, buyer's inspection waiver. If you would need to use that form, you don't know how to fill out that form. You go to the Forms Tutor, you see this button right here. You can actually read what this form is all about, or you can play. I cannot, okay. So when you're in here and you click on this button, and if you play the play button, okay, it will the computer will read these texts to you. It will explain what this form is and how to fill it out, what this form is and how to fill it out. Go back and you have other, for example, cancellation of contract. If you don't know how to fill out a cancellation of contract, this is what the form is about. It is 2 forms in one. So there's 2 locations for them to explain what this form is about and how to fill the upper portion and how to fill out the lower portion. It's 2 different forms. the top form is cancellation of contract. The bottom is called release of deposit and cancellation of escrow. It is two separate forms in the same form, okay? So you need to, if you don't know how to fill out a particular form, look in the forms tutor. Okay. Let's go to Forms Advisor. Forms Advisor advise you if you're doing a particular transaction, it tells you what forms you need to use. So you come here, I open so many windows right now. I'm kind of lost. See all those windows I opening? Okay, so if you are in a transaction, happened. Why did it? Let me close this. Let me close this. Let me close this. And I'm in a transaction. I don't need this page. Let me close it. And Forms Tutor. I don't need a Forms Tutor. I need a Forms Advisor. Okay, Access Forms Advisor. I'm in the transaction. Why am I in the transaction twice? I don't need that. Forms Advisor. Why is it taking me back to my form system? It's not working properly right now. The Forms Advisor is not working properly. I have to report this because it's sending me into a loop that is not right. Okay. Sorry, I cannot demonstrate how to use Forms Advisor. Okay. I found it. They moved it to here. Now I have to go to up here in the gray area, Forms Advisor. When I do a Forms Advisor, I have to do this. I can select one, or I can create a new question. Okay. For example, 123, enter the new file name, 123 Main Street. Okay. I create a new one, and it says, you see all these tabs? It's going to ask me about my transaction. First, it's about you. Are you confirming changed compensation in the MLS? No, I'm not changing. So, hold on. And have you advertised that you are short sale? No. Is there a co-listing agent? No. Do two licensees from the same office have an agreement to work with the same buyer? If you answer yes, it will add a form called additional agent, acknowledgement. So I'll say yes. Okay. If it has two different brokers, if you answer that, the form that I'll add is called additional broker advisory. Okay, acknowledgement. Are you agreeing to allow the listing agent to be transferred to a new broker? No. Okay, so I answered that. So accepted these items. Now it goes to the property. You answer, what about this property? Is the property greater than 300,000? How much is our offer? 845, so it's yes, okay? And is the property a new construction? Yes or no? You answer this kind. What is the property type? Okay, you can select. If it is commercial, you'll have different forms. You see that? Single family residence. Okay, it is a single family. Is there any special condition of the property? No. If a yes, what is it? Seller is in foreclosure, that kind of thing. But the seller is not in foreclosure, because if you answer yes, seller is in foreclosure, it will give you the foreclosure addendum and advisory. Okay. So it depends on how you answer your questions. The system will determine what kind of forms you. Okay. So is there a homeowner association? If I answer yes, you will have the homeowner association information. But in my example, it's a single family. There is no homeowner association. Was the property constructed prior to 1978? I answer yes. You know what that will do? It will suggest that I also need a lead-based disclosure. Okay, so it depends on how you answer about your property. It will tell you what kind of forms you want to transact. About my client, you will ask situations, that questions like, is your client a corporation? Is your client this and that? You know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so transaction. Oops, about the transaction. If the property will be tenant occupied at close of escrow, who will be the tenant? Okay, not applicable. But if you have a rental property that your buyer is buying a rental property and you intend to have the tenant live there, then you answer yes, other tenant, okay? Buyer need to sell an existing home. Oh, this is a good one. If a buyer need to sell an existing home, I say yes. You will suggest what? You will suggest the buyer selling property addendum. Okay, so I say yes, and basically I accept the selected items. Summary. It asks for your final review. Is everything is okay? Okay, I accept. Now it's analyzing, and then it will give you a list. You do not need the SSD. No, you know, most of the time, if you work for a brokerage, your broker supposed to have a list of required documents for you. This is for people that you don't have a brokerage that tells you what forms you need and get to the list. Yeah, I cannot get to. Something is wrong with this thing. I answer 1, 2, 3, 4. How come? Oh, get recommended. Okay, right here. You click on this. These are the recommended forms that they suggest you to have, to use in your transaction. All of this. You see that? And you just got to remember, this is only a reference. Always check with your broker. Your broker is the one who tells you the final answer. Okay, this is only CAR's recommended number of forms to use. Of course, you have the purchase agreement, you have the seller's questionnaire, you have the TDS and all that. Okay, but always check with your broker. Remember, forms advisor is only their advice. You're working under a broker. You have to follow your broker's advice. Okay, remember, salesperson licensee, you're working as an extension of your broker. So you have to work under a broker that knows what they're doing. They have to know how to do transactions, because otherwise they will never be able to advise you properly. Okay? Okay, so that's forms advisor. Some of the, I want to show you something. I want to show you how to add photos to AVID, because let me tell you, a lot of people do AVID and they don't know how to attach photos. Did you know you can actually attach photos to your AVID? So let's go back to the transaction. Now I want to add AVID because I don't believe in my sample I did AVID before. So, okay, here is the AVID form. Let's pretend Brian Chen now going to do an AVID. Okay, this is how you should fill out an AVID. From the first page, inspection performed by which company? Okay, it's presented by me. Okay, and inspection date. Let's pretend the date is the 26th. Pretend that. Okay. What time? It is 11:20, 11:30 a.m. Close enough. Weather condition, cloudy, right? Cloudy and clear. You see that? Okay. Who are present? You got to write in everyone there. Seller, buyer, okay, inspector, and the listing agent is not there. Okay, you can say this, and sounding agent. Okay, you can even put on, instead of buyer, you can even put on the buyer's name, the name of the people. Okay, whatever you can communicate to let them know who are the people there. For example, if there's two buyers, only buyer number one is there, you say buyer number one, right? Or the person's name. Okay, entry. Your purpose for doing AVID for the agent is to look for any kind of visual defects. What are visual defects? Sometimes on the wall, you may see a scratch mark. If you see a scratch mark on the wall, you're supposed to say something, okay? If you have scuff mark, you know what scuff mark is? You know how your shoes kick on the wall, it will leave a black mark? That's called a scuff mark. So I would say, minimally, I would have the buyer inspect, because the best time to do your buyer agent AVID is when the inspection is taking place. So you should have the buyer there, you should have the inspector there, and you should be there. But you need to make sure you made the appointment with the listing agent. And also remember, your contract requires that the seller to have the water, electric, and gas all turned on before you can do your inspection. Otherwise, they cannot inspect properly, okay? Huh? It is not required for the listing agent to be there when you're doing your inspection. Right. A lot of time, listing agent won't even show up. Yeah, it is a buyer's inspection. Yeah. Okay. And whatever you can see, that's anything that's wrong. Okay. Don't leave any room blank. Do not leave it blank. Because if you leave it blank, they don't know whether or not you forgot to check or if it doesn't apply. So just every room that you see, write something. If there's no visual defect, write in no, okay? And a dining room, if there's a window that sticks, okay, write something there. If there's a kitchen broken, always, if you have anywhere that has a sink, you have to say something. If there's no water damage that you can see, right in there, no visual signs of water damage under the sink. That way they know you checked, okay? And then you have a broken counter tile and broken floor tile, okay? And other rooms. And if this doesn't apply, NA, okay? Hallways, okay? Stairs, no, okay? Nail, holes on the wall, okay? bedroom number one. Okay, bedroom number one. Identify which bedroom it is. You either in the hallway, you have the north, middle, and south, or east, okay, middle, and west. So indicate which bedroom, because your bedroom number one may not be other people's bedroom number one. So in my example, I'll say east bedroom, okay, east bedroom. And what do you see? I'll say crack on the ceiling, cracks on the ceiling, smoke detector missing. Okay, that's what I noticed. And bedroom number two, I will say is the west bedroom. Okay, I will say unfinished wall patching. Okay, I have photos from my previous examples. That's why I remember. So bedroom number three, okay, bedroom number three. Now this is the master bedroom, right? No visual, okay, no, and also no sign of water damage under the kitchen, bathroom, okay, no, this is, never mind, no defect, because I do the bathroom, okay, bathroom number one, hold on, bathroom number one, I say this is the hallway bath, because you gotta identify which, okay, and I'll say, hold on. Tile separation, okay, and no, and then the second bathroom number two, I'll say that master, no visual defect noted. No, I always add these comments about sink, because a sink, usually the cabinet is closed. You have to open it, you have to open up the cabinet and look around. You gotta make sure you state something like that, okay? And other rooms, bathroom, an A, okay, an A. Let me do something else. Garage, okay? Exterior building, I say everything that I see, okay? Some cracks on the stucco wall, okay, of the building. And what else? Maybe on the backyard, the fence, okay, east fence is leaning, okay, is leaning, okay, and what else? Maybe there's a puddle of water, okay, something like that. Depends on what you see. I'm just saying you have to say everything you see, okay, and then here is something else. You see over here, there is a NA field. Remember over here, I filled in NA, right? I don't have to do that. If I do an NA field, everything has no comments written in, okay? If I do an NA field and apply, see that? It's all NA. That way there is no field left blank. No field left blank. But I have a problem here because you cannot do the whatever. I do the listing and listing agent, whatever. I'll pretend that this is the listing agent, and firms represent the buyer. It should be me, so this, and me, so this should be okay, and Brian Chen. Okay, so over here, you got to make sure you filled in the listing agent's information. I forgot who the listing agent is, but I'm just pretending this is the listing agent. You guys get the idea. Now, let me show you how to add photos. Be careful of this line. This is the page line. So if you're in between two pages, when you add photo, it will always be added to this page. You want to make sure the page line is not visible. Then you add photos. Photos, add attached photo. And then where is your photo? My photo is located there. Maybe I need demo photos. And let me look at, okay. In here, I have cracked kitchen counter, right? Remember, I did mention something like that. You see over here, you have the names here. Make sure when you name your photo, it's already properly named. It saves you time to type, because when you take your photo and upload it to your computer, you have to name your photo. Might as well name it what it is. That way, it's not photo number 1. It's not photo number 2. It's what this photo is about. That way, you don't have to type again. Because if your photo is named this, later on in your attachment, you just say photo number 1 or image. You know how you have image underline 4A43 or whatever. It doesn't make sense. Name your photo something that makes sense. And that's photo number 1. You see photo number 1? Go to the kitchen, you attach it here. Okay? And then attach more photos. Didn't I say there was a crack on the floor of the kitchen? Okay. See, cracked floor tiles in kitchen. That's my second photo. It's all related to here, so I put it here. Okay, and then go to one of the bedroom, crack on the ceiling, right? So I add photo. I go to where I have photos, and then crack on the ceiling and missing smoke detector. So it's all here. The name is all here. Watch later. And then this bedroom, add photo. Unfinished patching in the middle bedroom. Okay, that's good. And hallway bath, separation of shower tile wall. Separation. I forgot something. In here, I said sign of previous water damage, right? I gotta attach that photo too. Moisture damage under the kitchen sink. Okay, good. So I have all these photos all the way back. Separation right here. Okay, which photo is this? This is finished. Okay. Unfinished right here. Unfinished wall patch. Okay, now you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos in my report. But if I'm reading the report inside the zipForm, I don't see the photo. I have to click on the photo to see what it is, right? To see the photo, but that's so hard to read. This is what you do. Okay, you go back to the forms section, okay? You click on this form. No, you open the form and you can either save Save as PDF. Save in the transaction, okay? Not on the device, because if you save it on the device, it goes to your computer. Save in the transaction, I say save. Okay, attached, added, okay, good. Now, this is the PDF file. You can actually look at the PDF file. And this is the file you will email to yourself to sign and things like that, okay? So watch this. Cracked on the kitchen sink, okay? And look at what the bottom of the page, crack on the kitchen countertop. You see that? That was the wording when you attach your photo that I say, if you name your photo correctly, you don't have to type it in any description, okay? And then the next, kitchen sink, okay? Water damage, right? Moisture damage on the wall under the kitchen sink. You see that? Okay. Cracked floor tile. See the floor tile is cracked? Cracked floor tiles in the kitchen sink. Okay. And here, remember I say cracked on the ceiling and missing smoke detector. There's a crack on the ceiling and there's a missing smoke detector. See that? That's very visual. Now your AVID is no longer just 3 pages with words. You have photo to show. You understand? So when you're doing your AVID, you take photos of everything that you see that's wrong with it. When you attach it, remember unfinished patching on the east wall. East wall, there's 2 places, there's no paint. It's a patch, right? Take the photo. Now look at this. Look at the tile. This is the wall. This is the tile. You see the separation? Separation of shower tile wall in hallway bath. Now, it gives a visual representation of what you have seen. Okay, because otherwise it's so hard to describe. How are you going to describe the separation? See the separation? You show the photo, you attach the photo, you describe it. Did you do a diligent? Did you do a good job on your AVID? Did you know your contract says you must do a diligent visual inspection when you represent the buyer? It says that in the purchase agreement. Whenever you represent the buyer, this is the kind of AVID you're supposed to do. And you know how sometimes you walk in the backyard and you see a puddle of water? They may have just watered the lawn and there's a water forming. Hey, you have to know that you have to say something. Okay? You had a question earlier. The listing agent and the buyer's agent's visual inspection actually is due as part of the TDS. TDS is where the listing agent and the buyer's agent do AVID or do their visual inspection report. Let me show you TDS. Let me add TDS to the transaction. Let me add TDS and let me show you where this is saying that. On the page 3, you see paragraph 3, agent inspection disclosure. You have the option of writing in here, agent notes the following items, check mark here. Or you say see attached AVID. So listing agent, the law doesn't hold you to too much visual inspection, okay? But when you represent the buyer, because the TDS is for the benefit of the buyer, when you represent the buyer, you're supposed to do a very detailed AVID. Now, is this 4 pages? This 4 lines is not enough for you to describe the whole, everything you saw. If it's not enough, do see attached visual agent visual ID form. I require all of my agents not to write it here. Always do AVID. All of my agents, listing agent or selling agent, they have to do an AVID. No option, because I'm the broker. I said, this is my standard. I want to make sure the AVID is not used by the lawyers to attack the agent's professionalism, because AVID is the only disclosure agents give to the buyer. Think about it. TDS, SPQ, NHD, they're not agents' disclosure, right? They're sellers' disclosure. Preliminary title report is made from the title insurance company. HOA is HOA. AVID is the only agent's disclosure to the buyer. So, and the laws require, let me go to purchase agreement. Let me see if I can find that. See, the home hardening is required here. RPA is the mother of all documents. Every time I want to talk about things, I don't mark it, then I forget. Where is it? There's so many languages. It's somewhere between the buyer's investigation and the seller's disclosure. It does say the buyer's agent, nothing exempt the buyer's agent. Okay, let's talk about exempt sellers. Now, there is some exempt seller that doesn't give TDS or SPQ, and then it followed by a sentence. Nothing exempt the buyer's agent from providing buyer with a diligent, detailed visual inspection right here. The TDS agent, if any, just sign somewhere around. Yeah, but this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where there is a exemption, and then it actually says the seller in the exempt seller is exempt from giving TDS SPQ, but nothing exempts the buyer's agent. This is talk about listing agent and agent in general. But the language I want to talk about is about even when a seller is exempt from giving disclosures, buyer's agent. It didn't say seller's agent. It says buyer's agent. Nothing exempt the buyer's agent to provide. So anyway, it's in here somewhere. It's too many small print. I don't want to waste a lot of time because this is not an RPA class. In my RPA class notes, I have that language actually blocked and highlighted. So anyway, so I just want you to know that it is very important when you represent a buyer, you do a very thorough AVID. Your job when you're doing the AVID is not to try to sell the property. You're there to find out any defects that you can see that a normal average person without professional knowledge, without real estate licensing knowledge, would not have recognized that could be a defect. Your job is to be almost as detailed as the physical inspector, but the only difference is you're not required to test the outlet for electricity. You're not required to open the electrical panel and check the electric panel. You're not required to climb into the attic area to check if the roof have a leak, or crawl underneath the house to check the foundation. That is the job of a physical inspector. You're not required to go up to the roof to check the roof, but you are required. On some homes, have you noticed, if you go to the end of the backyard, you look back on the roof, you can see the roof tile has problems, has cracked. If you do see that, it's visual. You have to take photo and notify it. If there is a break in the rain gutter, okay, You're supposed to notice that and notify the buyer. So it is not just an insight. A lot of agents, they go through AVID and say nothing noted, nothing, or good. Those are the kind of AVID. If you ever find yourself in a legal dispute, the lawyer will use your AVID to attack you. So you better do a good, diligent, detailed AVID, okay? And this is why CAR put in adding photo capabilities to it. Now, let me also talk to you about sometimes in a transaction, you know how the buyer says, I like your living room furniture. I like to have your living room furniture. Or if the buyer requests the refrigerator to stay, okay, you know what you're supposed to do? The best way to do that is, let's use a addendum. Do we have an addendum? Yes. That's pretend this is an addendum, right? And you may say addendum, okay, all living room furniture are included, okay? Right? Buyer and seller negotiated, but then you write that down. But how do you know what kind of living room furniture is agreed to? You don't know, right? I always say, see attached photos for the exact items to, exact items included. Now, you can add photos. Same thing, you can add photos. Do what I did with the AVID. And when you add photos, it will attach to the end of this thing. Let me just pretend, okay? Add photos, add photos. I'm just gonna add something, okay? So you guys can see it, okay? And do the same thing. Go back, add the photos, okay? You do photo number 1, photo number 2, whatever, okay? Now, when you go back, oh, sorry. I want you to use the addendum and say, save it as PDF, okay? Don't save it in here. So now you have this. Now, watch. You go back to the forms, okay? You have the addendum. Now watch. You have the picture. See that? So if you say bedroom furniture, take the photo of the bedroom furniture. Let me tell you, I have agents who come to me and say, Brian, we agreed on the living room furniture. It was expensive furniture. Now it's IKEA. Okay, the seller took the furniture and bought $1,500 IKEA furniture. That was not the real furniture that we agreed. How you prove it? You just say living room set, right? Now you can add photo. Look at it. Go to addendum. You can take photos of the furniture. So please, I hate it when the agent says furniture included and nothing. Okay, it's always dispute. People get upset. They changed it. How about refrigerators? When I saw it, it was a beautiful stainless steel, very expensive refrigerator. Now is a used refrigerator. Maybe you can buy it from the used appliance store for $500. Put it in there. Okay, it's not the same. It's not the right size. It doesn't fit. Before it was beautifully fit in that space and it was expensive. And the seller said, I paid $4,000 for that. I'm taking it and buy a $300 used refrigerator because you only says refrigerator. A lot of refrigerator, even though it looked like it's built into the cabinet, it's actually movable. It's not built in. The only built-in appliances are like the custom-made like Sub-Zero, where they are built into the cabinet and you cannot take it apart. Okay, those are the kind of appliance we call built-in. Everything has to be negotiated. Let's look at the purchase agreement. Okay, your idea of things stay is changed. Everything now is negotiated right here. Items included. Where is it? Here. Everything. You see the stove? How about the bathroom mirror? How about this? Everything you want things to stay, you have to check. If you did not check and they take it with them, and your buyer expected, guess what? You better buy it for your buyer because you made a mistake. You did not check it. Look at it. Security camera. Do you know people take it away even though it's mounted on the wall? So if you want that to stay, you're supposed to check it. So real estate has changed quite a bit from the old days. Remember the old days? Anything attached to the wall stays. No, not anymore. Not anymore. You have to. So if you want a refrigerator, you do it here. You have to. Washer and dryer. Wine refrigerators. A lot of the wine refrigerators is underneath the island, the center island. There's a space. People take it. You know why? Because you can just roll that out. It's a movable item. That's why stove is here. Did you know even most of the stove, you can just pull it out and take it with you. So, unless it is on the counter and there's a hole on the counter, it's called the range top, cooktop, but stove is freestanding. So you know what? Too many people have disputes. So CAR scorn now says, anything you want, you have to check. Don't forget. So anyway, you just got to make sure everything you want to stay, you don't miss it. Market, and there are spaces here for additional things. Okay? And we're not furniture salesmen. Come on. Don't include furniture with yourself. Because legally, you know what it's supposed to be doing? How much is the furniture? You're supposed to separate it out because real estate is the real estate price. Then you have a personal property. We are all violating the tax code when we say furniture included because we did not properly assign it a value. Okay, and the county assessor cares about the value because you're supposed to pay tax with the furniture. It is a personal item. It is not, it is not part of the real estate. So, you guys, you are licensed to sell real estate. Don't deal with furniture. A lot of confusion. But if you still, sometimes, you buy a model home or something, the furniture came with a model unit and the sellers is selling it as part of, hey, this was the model unit. Look at all these custom designed furnitures. It looked great. And the buyer said, good, I'll pay, the market price is $1 million. I paid $1.2 million. I want all the furniture to stay. Headache. You got to take all the photos. Good, clear photo. Not out of focus photos. And include that. Okay, please. Just don't make the mistake of not detailed enough, and later on you get into disputes. Sometimes people will say, even the decorations, they want the decorations to stay. But the seller said, no, you only said furniture. Okay, you have to take photo and both people sign. They agree everything that's photographed stays, right? Because otherwise, we are never detailed enough to take inventory, but we're good enough to take photos of every item. So take photos and have both parties sign. All these, everything in a photograph stays. Okay? Well, today I basically shared with you how to create templates, how to create checklists to help you remind yourself of important task that is due. I showed you how to do the digital signature and forms tutors and forms advisor. But remember, forms advisor, you must check with your broker. Most of the companies have broker required documents. So you have to make sure you check with your broker on what documents are required. Okay? And I showed you how to add photos to your AVID and to your addendums. These will be useful in the future and hopefully, save you from possible disputes between buyer and sellers. Because I have found that sometimes people get into disputes like that. Okay. Other than that, yes. What is your question? Personally, to me, the best time for me to do an AVID is when the buyer and the physical inspection is done. I will always have the buyer at the property with me, and I do my AVID because usually I get that done within 3 days or 4 days after acceptance. And that way, my AVID report is ready when the seller's disclosure is given to the buyer, because buyer agent's AVID and also listing agent's visual inspection report is part of the TDS. A lot of agents don't realize that. It is part 3. Part 3, let me show you that. This is the TDS, page 1, page 2, and page 3. Right here, agent's inspection disclosure. And for the one that represents the buyer, I always say, see the attached agent visual inspection disclosure, AVID form. So when is it supposed to be due? It's supposed to turn into the buyer as part of this TDS. So the best time to do your AVID is ASAP, but usually the best time is when the buyer is doing the physical inspection. Okay? AVID is due when the seller's transfer disclosure is due. Buyer's inspection have 17 days. So as long as within the 17 days, but I don't wait. I do it from the beginning. Okay? So I always do the physical inspection within 3 to 4 days. And that way I only go there once. I do my AVID, meet with the inspector, bring my buyer to meet the inspector, and the inspector have the computer with a photo big, because on a physical inspection report, usually the photo are small on the page. But when the buyer is there, the inspector will always go through the inspection with the photograph on the screen, okay? And have the buyer listen to what the inspector is saying, okay? Okay, so that's the end of today's class. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share with you how I use the zipForm and how I use the templates and the checklists to help me save time and make sure no important task is missed. So your homework is to create your own templates and to create your own checklist. Think your checklist as a transaction reminder. So think through from the date of acceptance, what are the important tasks you need to do? Do yourself a favor. Always remind yourself to talk to the lender. Do not just remove loan contingencies without talking to the lender. And if the lender says, oh yeah, I got a loan approval, talk to the lender to check and see what kind of condition the lender has. Sometimes the lender has a condition that the buyer cannot fulfill. For example, if you know the family room was added without permit, right? And the listing says family room added without permit. And the appraisal says family room added without permit. And if the lender's underwriter condition says provide copy of city permit for family room, the deal is dead. The loan is approved, but the underwriter says, I want to see a copy of the permit. And there's no way to get a permit. So is the deal, can the deal complete? No. You have to tell the seller, I cannot get a loan because the lender says I must get a permit. And we both know that family room has no permit. So I have to back up, right? So but if you only ask the loan agent, hey, is the loan approved? Yeah, it's approved. It's approved. You got to check. You got to check all of the loan condition inside the approval. Don't forget that. Okay. So I always leave me reminders to review loan approval conditions with the lender. And it actually sent me an email that says, today is the day that you should review all of the loan conditions with the lender. And I do that. Because if you don't ask, the loan agent will not tell you what condition there is. And they think all condition is just loan is approved. We just have to give the underwriter what they require. Okay. And those are there may be some deal killer conditions that the underwriter is asking that no one can fulfill. Okay. Yes, the listing agent has the right to talk to the lender. Your purchase agreement actually gives them the right. Read the purchase agreement. Okay, your purchase agreement did give the lender, the listing agent, the right to check and speak to the loan agent.
One question is the buyer's agent asked about the cost for the repair. Like,
your purchase agreement says the seller is selling the property to you as is, as of the date of acceptance. That's why the request for repair, the name is called request, buyer request. If this is request, does the seller have a right to refuse? Of course. So whenever we're in a seller's market, the seller can a lot of time they're tougher on satisfying the request for repair.
Maybe one time the buyer asked for really the low price. So what is the better to resolve this?
This is something between you and the buyer and the listing agent and the seller, and you should talk to your broker about it. It's always a negotiation. There is no set way. Everything is negotiated. Yes, it does. In a buyer's market, the buyer asks for more and the seller is more willing to do it. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. And the time is 12:12 and we're good to go. Thank you very much.